I set up my tent in the woods of Appalachia a few days ago. I wanted to capture the beauty with my camera. I thought it would be a good escape after a busy few months of work. The campsite felt peaceful and quiet. I made a fire and settled in for the night, but I couldn't shake the feeling something was off. As I arranged my gear, I noticed a glimmer in the underbrush. My curiosity pulled me closer, but then I heard laughter. It echoed through the trees, faint yet clear. I froze. My heart raced. I told myself it was just animals or other campers nearby. I shook it off and went back to my tent. That first night, I tried to ignore the laughter, but it crept back into my mind. Around midnight, I sat outside with my camera, listening to the night sounds. Suddenly, the laughter returned, louder and more distorted. Chills crawled down my spine. I wasn't sure what to make of it. Maybe it was just my tired mind. Still, I felt uneasy. The next morning, I decided to explore. I wandered down a narrow path, snapping photos of the scenery. The trees seemed closer, like they were watching me. I noticed symbols carved into the trunks. I didn't recognize them, and it made me feel uncomfortable. I wanted to take a picture of one, but hesitated. Instead, I kept moving. That night, the laughter grew louder. It felt like it was taunting me. I shone my flashlight toward the sound, but saw nothing. Just shadows danced in the light. My heart pounded. I thought about leaving, but a part of me was too curious. When I crawled into my tent, whispers filled the air. Jamie. They were soft and eerie. My heart raced as I sat up. I grabbed my flashlight and scanned the area. Nobody was there. The silence felt heavy. I wanted to convince myself I was just tired. Then I heard footsteps outside my tent. Just slow, deliberate steps. I pressed myself back against the tent wall, my breath hitching. I wanted to scream, but nothing came out. After a moment, the footsteps stopped. The air felt thick with something I couldn't name. I thought about what might be waiting for me outside. Then the voice called my name again. It was clearer now. I took a deep breath, gripping the tent zipper. I was terrified, but part of me was drawn to it. I opened the tent slightly. What I saw froze me in place. There wasn't a person outside. Instead, I caught sight of those symbols I had seen before. They were all around my campsite, carved into the ground, glowing faintly. An icy wave of dread washed over me as I looked closer. I could hear that laughter again, sharp and ringing, echoing in my ears. I felt trapped, stuck in the spotlight of whatever was out there. I didn't know what to do. Should I run? Should I call for help? Before I could decide, a figure stepped out from behind a tree. I couldn't see its face, it just smiled at me. And then, it vanished. I sat there, paralyzed at the entrance of my tent, staring at the spot where the figure had stood. Part of me wanted to bolt, but another part, curiosity perhaps, kept me frozen. I could still hear that laughter, louder now, carried by the wind. It felt almost familiar, but I couldn't place it. Glancing toward my camera, I wrestled with the urge to grab it. Images of the glowing symbols flashed through my mind. Maybe they held some secret. Maybe, just maybe, they could explain what was happening. I shook my head, dismissing the thought. I needed to get out of there before whatever was watching me made its move. I finally slid the tent zipper down and stepped out, heart racing. The woods felt different now, almost suffocating. The air was thick with anticipation, as if the trees themselves were holding their breath. The moonlight filtered down, creating eerie shadows that danced around the symbols on the ground. I took a cautious step forward, then another, feeling the cool earth beneath my feet. I scanned the area, searching for any signs of movement. When I turned back to my tent, I saw something standing behind the trees. Not the figure I had seen before, but something else. It was smaller, hunched over. My breath hitched as I brought the flashlight closer. That's when I saw it. The creature, if you could call it that, was covered in dark fur. Its eyes glinted with a strange intelligence, and it stared at me, unmoving. I felt a chill run down my spine. The laughter had faded, replaced by an unsettling silence. I felt an instinct to run, but my feet felt rooted to the ground. The creature tilted its head, studying me in a way that felt almost curious. Maybe it wasn't hostile. Maybe it was waiting for something, expecting me to react. I slowly raised my camera, hand trembling. With each click, the flash lit up the dark woods, illuminating the creature for just a second. But when I went to review the images, the screen stayed blank. The photos hadn't saved. Panic began to rise. I needed to capture this moment, to prove I wasn't losing my mind. I turned back to find the creature was now gone, vanished into the underbrush. I took a shaky breath, darting my eyes around. What was happening? The symbols began to pulse with a faint glow again, drawing me closer. I felt the urge to touch them, but the memory of that laughter stopped me. Whatever force was behind it didn't feel safe. Then I heard it again, that familiar voice whispering my name, softer now. Jamie. I darted my gaze toward the sound, and in the distance I saw the figure from before, watching from further away. It was waiting as if expecting me to follow. I swallowed hard. The urge to escape battled with an inexplicable pull to uncover the secrets of this place. But I knew one thing for certain. I couldn't ignore it any longer. As I took a step back toward the tent, everything around me shifted. The world seemed to shimmer, and I felt a pressure in the air. Suddenly the ground beneath me shook. I looked down to see the symbols vibrating violently. That's when I realized it was a warning. I had to leave. I turned to run, when something cold gripped my ankle, holding me still. Looking down, I saw a shadowy hand reaching up from the ground, fingers curling around my leg. I screamed. The world spun as I felt the icy grip tighten around my ankle. My heart pounded in my chest, and a primal fear surged through me. I kicked, trying to shake free, but the hand held on with an unnatural strength. I could almost feel its energy seeping into me, chilling my entire body. "Let go!" I yelled, voice cracking, but the hand only tightened further, pulling me toward the ground. I could see the symbols glowing brighter now, casting pulsating shadows that danced with the chaos of my panic. Just as I thought I would be dragged into the earth, the grip suddenly released. I stumbled back, nearly losing my balance, and fell onto the soft forest floor. My breath heaved as I scanned my surroundings. Had it truly just let me go? The laughter echoed again, more pronounced, reverberating through the trees. It felt both haunting and oddly inviting, but I didn't want to stick around to decipher it. I pushed myself up, heart racing, and rushed toward my tent, desperate to escape this sinister place. That was when I saw something glinting on the forest floor. I bent down to examine it, my pulse quickening again. It was a pendant, silver and shaped like an intricate tree with twisted roots. It felt familiar, almost comforting in my palm. My mind raced. Could this piece be connected to the symbols? But no sooner did I pick it up than an overpowering wind swirled around me. Leaves and debris whipped through the air, and the trees seemed to groan with unrest. I held the pendant tightly, half hoping it might offer protection, half fearing it would lead to more trouble. As I turned to run, I felt a sudden weight in the air, like an arm reaching out from the shadows. I glanced over my shoulder, and that's when I saw it, the figure from before, now closer, draped in darkness, its expression unreadable. The laughter faded into a low murmur, and I was caught in a grip of confusion. I needed answers, but I also needed to escape. "Jamie!" The figure called again, that whisper almost sweet yet loaded with something sinister. It felt like a lure, and I stood frozen, torn between instinct and curiosity. What did it want? Then the ground trembled anew beneath me, and the symbol was not only pulsing but also shifting. Shapes seemed to rearrange, spelling out something I couldn't comprehend. My gut twisted with dread. I could sense I was standing on the brink of something dark, something that wanted me to uncover these hidden truths, but was prepared to unleash horrors in the process. I backed away slowly, keeping my eyes on the figure, the pendant warm in my palm. Maybe I could figure it out later. I turned to escape, urging my legs to move faster. But just before I dashed into the dense underbrush, a loud crack rang out, like thunder, but far too close for comfort. I stopped dead in my tracks. Then came the unmistakable sound of footsteps, heavy and deliberate, following me. They were the kind that told you something was hunting you. I took off, sprinting into the night, the branches clawing at my skin. I needed to get away from this place and the secrets hiding within it before they swallowed me whole. But even as I ran, I could feel the air change again, an electric tug that promised danger. Then everything went dark. I jolted awake, the forest around me draped in a suffocating darkness. My heart raced, and for a moment I struggled to comprehend where I was. Had I fallen asleep? I pushed myself up, brushing dirt and leaves off my clothes, feeling disoriented. The woods were silent now, but I could still feel the remnants of the panic that had gripped me just moments before. The pendant was still clutched in my hand, glowing faintly in the dark, a stark contrast to the shadows around me. I held it up to inspect it. The tree design seemed alive, roots twisting further than I remembered. I wanted to believe it held some power, some protection against whatever had chased me. But rational thought warned me it could just as easily be a lure into more danger. Tentatively, I took a step forward, scanning the area for any sign of the figure or the sounds that had been my nightmare. The air had turned thick and heavy, and I felt an oppressive weight settling over me. I was deep in the woods now, far from my campsite, and that thought sent a fresh wave of dread coursing through my veins. Jamie. The whisper sent chills down my back again, cutting through the silence like a knife. It felt so close. I didn't want to look, but I had to know what was out there. Slowly, I forced myself to turn. I gasped as I saw them, hundreds of symbols flickering in the air around me like fireflies, illuminating the trees in ghostly light. I never thought I would witness anything like it. In the center of this strange display stood the figure, its form flickering in and out of the ethereal glow. The darkness clung to its shape like a cloak, moving with an unsettling fluidity. My instincts screamed for me to run, yet I stood rooted in place, caught in a strange, morbid fascination. "Why are you here?" it asked, the voice fragmented, almost distorted, but undeniable. There was a longing in that question, as if it tied into some ancient truth buried deep within the forest. I opened my mouth to respond, but no words came. Instead, the pendant in my hand pulsed warm. It felt like an answer, though I had no idea what the question was. "Find the truth, Jamie." The figure extended a hand toward me, its fingers elongated and skeletal. "You already know more than you think." My heart raced again, and I took a step back, unable to fully grasp what it meant. Did I really? The symbols around me twisted and turned, forming fleeting images of moments I couldn't quite remember. A childhood laughter, a whisper of a promise, a betrayal. Every flash felt too personal, too heavy to carry. Then, with a violent gust of wind, everything vanished. The symbols, the figure, the warm glow of the pendant, all swallowed by the night. I was left standing alone, my breaths quick and shallow. But the sense of being watched returned, stronger and more suffocating than ever before. I turned again, eyes wide, searching for the presence. Something wasn't right. I couldn't escape it as easily as I'd hoped. That's when I heard it. A snap followed by a low growl somewhere behind me. My body went cold, adrenaline breaking the paralysis. Someone, or something, was hunting me again. The only way out of this was to run, and fast. I bolted into the dense woods, branches whipping my face, the pendant swinging wildly at my chest. I needed answers, but survival came first. If I didn't escape, I might never know what lurked in the shadows. I ran, the darkness swallowing me whole, every instinct screaming for me to move faster. My breath came out in gasps, and each step felt like a battle against the thick underbrush below me. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was gaining on me, the low growl echoing in my ears, wrapping around my mind like a vice. "Just keep moving," I muttered to myself. My feet stumbled over roots and rocks, the pendant's glow flickering like a heartbeat against my chest. I could almost believe it was urging me onward, guiding me deeper into the woods. Suddenly, I broke through a thicket and into a small clearing. The moon hung low, casting a dim light over an ancient stone well at the center. It looked oddly out of place here, as if it had been standing long before this forest ever existed. I felt drawn to it, a strange pull that overrode my fear. Maybe it could offer me something, answers or at least a moment's respite. I approached the well cautiously, heart pounding in my ears. The moonlight illuminated the stones, casting odd shadows that danced around me. I leaned in to peer inside, but the darkness seemed endless. My hands trembled slightly as I grasped the edge, trying to listen for any sound at the bottom. "Jamie!" The whisper returned, louder now, echoing from within the well. I stumbled back, my heart racing even faster. What was happening? I glanced over my shoulder, half expecting something to emerge from the forest's edge. And that's when I noticed them. Tiny drawings carved into the stones of the well. Symbols, just like those that had flickered around me earlier. My fingers brushed against them. They felt warm, almost alive under my touch. For a brief moment, the growl faded, replaced by a new sound, the faint trickle of water. It called to me, a soft promise in the stillness of the night. I furrowed my brow, a mixture of terror and curiosity battling within me. What secrets lay at the bottom? If I wanted to find the truth, was this the path forward? But I didn't have time to linger. The growl returned, louder and closer, shattering my focus. I pulled back, reeling from the decision I had to make. I could either jump down into uncertainties or face the presence lurking just beyond the trees. Neither option offered comfort. Then, as if sensing my indecision, a sudden flash of light erupted within the well. I stumbled back, the pendant pulsing fiercely, casting a powerful beam that illuminated the darkness around me. For a heartbeat, I could see the outlines of faces within the stone, faces twisted in agony and fear. I gasped, tripping back onto the forest floor. I had to go now. Whatever was hunting me was dangerously close. With no time to think, I turned and sprinted back into the shadows of the forest. The light from the well flickered away behind me, swallowed again by the night. I didn't look back, but I could still feel those eyes, those haunting faces, pressing in on me. I needed to escape this place, to distance myself from whatever truth lay hidden in the well. But the forest felt alive, and I could feel it shifting around me, closing in tighter. That's when I heard it. A rustle in the bushes, heavy footsteps looming closer. Panic surged through me. I had to find a way out before I became the next echo among the trees. I ran without looking back, pushing my legs to move faster. The growl was now a part of the forest's chorus, an ominous note underlining every rustle of leaves. My sensations heightened. I felt more alive yet more terrified than ever before. The pendant's glow pulsed wildly, its warmth an anchor amidst the chaos. The trees seemed to thicken around me, branches reaching out as if trying to grasp at me. I jumped over a fallen log and barely managed to keep my footing. "Think, Jamie," I whispered under my breath. "Find a way out." Just then, I spotted a worn path branching off to the right. It looked slightly overgrown, but anything was better than the relentless darkness. I veered onto it, hoping it would lead me to safety. My heart raced not only from exertion, but from the ghostly whispers from the well still echoing in my mind. What did they mean? As I pressed on, the path began to narrow. The trees seemed to close in tighter, and the foliage rustled more frequently behind me. I could feel the presence of whatever was following, lurking just beyond the fringe of my vision. Fear had a taste, a metallic tang that filled my mouth. Then, out of nowhere, I stumbled into another clearing. This one was smaller, a tight space surrounded by gnarled trees. In its center lay an unusual sight, a circle of stones perfectly arranged. Each stone was about waist high and covered in the same strange carvings I'd seen on the well. They seemed to hum in the moonlight, like they were alive, beckoning. I approached them, unsure, the growl intensifying behind me. Whoever or whatever was chasing me was growing bolder. I took a chance, stepping closer to the stones. As I did, the air shivered, and the ground beneath me vibrated slightly. It wasn't just my imagination. The stones were reacting to my presence. Suddenly I heard a loud crack from behind me. I spun around, heart racing. My worst fear materialized as a massive shadow broke away from the trees. A silhouette loomed, tall and menacing with glistening eyes that reflected the moonlight. It was a creature, primal and fierce, its growl ripping through the night air. I stumbled backward, trying to put distance between us. The stones. Maybe they could help me, or at least provide a distraction. I scrambled back towards the circle, the pendant glowing more fiercely than ever. "What do you want from me?" I shouted, not even sure if the words were meant for the creature or the darkness itself. Just then, the earth shook again, and the circle of stones hummed louder. The creature paused, head tilted. A flicker of light shot through the air, darting toward the beast with an unexpected speed. My heart leaped as I grabbed a loose stone from the ground, preparing for what might come next. "I need to know!" I yelled into the night, adrenaline driving me on. But before I had answers, everything went dark. The growl ceased and silence enveloped me like a thick fog. Then I heard whispers again, but this time they weren't from the well. They came from the stones, threading through my mind like fragile wisps. "Find the truth," they urged. I had no idea what that meant, but before I could process any of it, a pulse of energy surged through the circle. The pendant grew hot against my chest, as if it were ready to awaken something long forgotten. I felt that something was about to change, and I hoped it wouldn't be the last thing I ever felt. The darkness faded slowly, revealing a strange, glowing mist that filled the clearing. I squinted, trying to make sense of my surroundings. The stones were now emitting a gentle light, illuminating the intricate carvings that snaked along their surfaces. They looked like a bizarre language, one I couldn't understand but felt an overwhelming urge to touch. That's when I glanced back at the path I had taken. The creature was gone. No growl, no shadow, nothing but silence. My breath caught in my throat. Had I escaped, or was this just a brief lull before something worse? I stepped forward into the circle, drawn by the warmth. The light from the stone seemed to pulse in rhythm with my racing heart, creating a strange connection between us. "What do you want?" I asked the stones, hoping they would somehow explain themselves. Of course, they didn't reply. Suddenly I heard it, a soft thrum mixed with the whispers. It was like the stones were trying to speak again, urging me to listen more closely. "Find the truth," they echoed. "Remember." To my shock, memories flooded my mind as if the stones were snatching them from my consciousness. I saw fragments of images, a dark well, laughter, a shadowy figure, and then, my parents. They were standing by the well, their faces twisted with worry as they called my name. "Jamie!" they cried out in distress. The scenes shifted rapidly, a chaotic montage of moments I had buried long ago. Why were these memories resurfacing now? Then I felt it. A presence lurked at the edge of my awareness again, pulling me back. I turned, heart hammering in dread. There, stepping from the trees, was the creature once more. But this time it was different. Its eyes flickered with a strange light, almost as if they were trying to convey something, to communicate with me. I took a cautious step back, instinctively clutching the pendant. It throbbed against my chest as if alive, urging me to confront whatever was making its way toward me. "What do you want?" I shouted, the anxiety rising in my throat. The creature paused, its enormous frame towering over me, and then it lowered its head slightly. The glistening eyes locked onto mine. In that moment I felt like it could see into my soul. With those eyes came a rush of images. The well, my family, and a dark history I seemed to have forgotten. I shivered. What kind of truth was waiting for me? Then an unexpected thing happened. The creature stepped forward, and the stones around me began to hum, louder this time. It was a calling, a symphony of sound that resonated through the air. I didn't know whether to flee or stay. My feet felt rooted to the earth as dread mixed with an inexplicable hope. Whatever had drawn me here seemed to want something more, something I couldn't grasp yet. The whispers transformed into a singular voice, clearer than before. "Find the truth." My breath hitched. I had to make a choice, run or face whatever lay ahead. But as I looked from the creature to the stones, I felt the weight of destiny pressing upon me. If I didn't find the answers now, I may never have the chance again. I'd already come too far to turn back. I barely whispered, "Okay, I'll find the truth," hoping that my words would matter. But an unsettling doubt crept in. What if the truth was worse than my fears? Before I could contemplate that, the creature surged forward, and the resonance from the stones reached a catastrophic peak, enveloping everything in blinding light. Then everything shattered, and I was thrown into darkness once more. I gasped as I tumbled into the void, landing hard on a cold surface. My body ached, and I fought to steady my breath. The familiar glow from the stones was gone. Instead, a thick fog clung to the air, wrapping everything in a heavy blanket of confusion. "What just happened?" I muttered, trying to remember the warmth from the clearing. Slowly, I pushed myself up and scanned my surroundings. I was in what appeared to be a cave, the walls slick with moisture. My heart raced with a new kind of fear. Was the creature still here? My hand instinctively found the pendant, now cold against my skin, and I clutched it tightly as though it could shield me from whatever lurked in the darkness. I took a cautious step forward, listening intently. The silence was suffocating, but soon it was broken by a faint sound. It was a low, rhythmic thump, almost like a heartbeat. I followed it, each step echoing in the cavern. The air grew colder as I ventured deeper, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. Then a flicker of light caught my eye. I hurried toward it, desperate for some sign of what was happening. As I rounded a bend, the light burst into view. It was a fire, crackling merrily in the middle of a small chamber. A figure sat cross-legged before it, obscured by shadow. "Who's there?" I called, my voice shaky. The figure turned, revealing a woman with an unsettling gaze. Her silver hair shimmered in the light, but her expression was unreadable. "You seek the truth," she said, her voice smooth yet chilling. "You've come to the right place, Jamie." I froze. How could she know my name? I took a step back, eyes darting around the cave for an escape. "What do you want from me?" I stammered. "The truths that you do not remember," she replied calmly. "The truths that brought you here. You see those stories carved into the stones?" She gestured with a bony finger. Behind her, the cave walls were covered in the same strange symbols I'd seen before, all glowing faintly. "They hold your history." "But my history?" I felt a wave of confusion wash over me. "I don't understand." "You must confront your fears before you can uncover the truth," she urged, her gaze unwavering. Then she leaned closer, her eyes flashing with intensity. "You were chosen, Jamie. It is time to unlock your past." As her words sank in, panic surged through me. This couldn't be happening. I had only wanted to escape, to find peace from the creature and the memories. I wasn't ready to relive any of it. Before I could voice my protest, shadows danced along the walls of the cave, and the rhythmic thumping grew louder. It was like a drum calling me to confront something hidden within. Suddenly, the woman stood and stepped toward the fire, revealing a knife glinting in her hand. "Are you brave enough to take this journey?" she asked, "or will you leave with your burdens?" My heart raced as uncertainty clawed at my insides. I was faced with an impossible choice. That's when I saw it through the shadows, a figure distinct and looming. My breath caught. Fear tightened around me as I realized the creature had followed me into the cave after all. I was trapped between the woman and the creature. The cave echoed with the monumental weight of my decision, and before I could make sense of my next step, the cave trembled as the creature advanced, its eyes glowing brighter than ever. I had to act, before it was too late. The creature lurched forward and I reacted without thinking. I sprinted to the left, narrowly avoiding its outstretched claws. My heart pounded in my chest. I couldn't let it catch me. The woman's voice echoed behind me. "You can't run from the truth, Jamie." I skidded around another corner, the flickering firelight casting long shadows that danced menacingly along the walls. I could feel the creature's presence behind me, a pulse in the air that sent shivers racing down my spine. My fingers still clutched the cold pendant, but it offered little more than a sense of false security. "Where do you think you're going?" Its voice was low, almost hypnotic as it taunted me. I could barely manage to respond. I wasn't even sure where I was running to. I needed a plan. I darted back toward the fire where the woman stood. My instinct told me I might find answers or at least a moment's safety. "What do you want from me?" I shouted, my voice barely above a whisper as the creature drew closer. "What's the truth?" Her gaze didn't waver. "You have to face it, Jamie. Only then will you be free." Before I could process her words, the creature surged forward. The shadows twisted around it as it landed between me and the woman, blocking my escape. Desperation clawed at my throat. "I can't do this," I choked out. A flicker of understanding flashed in the woman's eyes. "You are stronger than you think. Trust in yourself." And then, with a sudden burst of courage, I stepped forward. I faced the creature, my heart racing, and shouted, "Leave me alone. I'm not afraid of you." The beast reared back, surprised. Its eyes narrowed, and for a moment we just stood there, locked in a standoff. But then, the thumping grew louder, shaking the very ground beneath us. The walls trembled, and I could see cracks forming, sending spiders of light bursting through the stone. "Now!" the woman yelled, her voice urgent. "You need to remember." I squeezed my eyes shut. Images and sounds flooded my mind, shouts, faces I couldn't quite make out, a warmth that had faded. I opened my eyes and took a deep breath, focusing on the pendant. It began to glow, and the swirling fog around us started to swirl, bathing us in a soft light. "Do it, Jamie," the woman urged, her voice blending with the rhythm of my heartbeat. "Unravel the truth." The air shifted, and in that moment it felt like everything around me fell away. I could feel the weight of the past pressing down on me, each memory a stone pulling me deeper, but I didn't resist. Instead, I felt the warmth wash over me, pulling at the edges of my fear. That's when it happened. The creature lunged, swiping at me with razor-sharp claws, but just as suddenly the light from the pendant flared, pushing it back. I stood still, feeling both terrified and empowered. But what did this really mean? Had I summoned more than just light? The creature paused, confusion flickering in its eyes as it rolled backwards. The cave walls echoed, but now they pulsed with a new energy, revealing shimmering patterns I hadn't noticed before. Was I truly facing my fears? Or had I only managed to anger the creature further? In that moment a new sound emerged, a piercing howl that seemed to bend the very air around us. My heart sank. I hadn't escaped anything yet. The cave shifted, and I could feel something was coming. Something worse. With my heart thundering, I stood ready, knowing the truth was about to be unveiled but dreading what would follow. Suddenly, everything erupted into chaos. The ground shook violently, and the cave trembled as though it were alive. The walls rattled, dislodging stones that clattered to the floor. The creature snarled, eyes wild with confusion and rage, but even it seemed unnerved by whatever was awakening around us. The air thickened with energy, and a swirling mass of shadows began to materialize behind the creature. A dark mist coiling into form, growing larger and more menacing. It pulsed with the rhythm of the thumping sound that echoed through my bones. The cave felt charged, electric with a force I didn't understand but could feel deep within me. "Now!" the woman shouted, urgency seeping into every word. "You must choose, Jamie. You have the power to shape this moment." Choose? I could hardly comprehend what was happening, much less make a choice. I clutched the pendant tighter, its warmth a stark contrast to the cold fear swirling around me. Images flooded my mind again. Faces, memories, laughter, pain. It felt like I was standing at the edge of a precipice, about to dive into the depths of my own history. The dark mist surged forward, avoiding the creature as if they were both part of a greater game. It drew closer to me, and my instincts screamed to run, to escape this nightmare. But I was paralyzed. The truth was calling, demanding to be confronted. If I didn't figure out what was happening, I might never leave this place. As the mass advanced, laced with malicious intent, I took a deep breath and shouted, "I won't be afraid anymore." The pendant flared, and a brilliant light enveloped me, cascading over everything near. The murky shadows caught in its glow shrank back, retreating as if the light were a weapon. I focused on the brightness blossoming from the pendant, channeling all my fears and regrets into it. "Show me," I cried out, desperate for clarity, for understanding. And then the truth erupted. Images materialized vividly in the light, seeping from the pendant and cascading around me like a waterfall of memory. I saw my family gathered around the well again, only this time their faces were clearer, their expressions more profound. I saw laughter morphing into contention, and the dark shadow of a looming figure standing aside the well, beckoning my parents towards it, their fates entwined. "Don't trust it," I shouted in a panic, aware now of the cautious dread in their eyes. "Stay away." But the vision flickered, showing the beast circling my parents, seeking ages-old power, history intertwined with pain. My heart raced as it slammed home. The creature, the laughter, the shadows. They were manifestations of everything unresolved, all the pain I had buried. It was my family's past, struggling to break free. "Can you free us?" The woman's voice peered through the chaos in my mind. Was she really asking me to confront our shared history, our collective grief? The truth was heavy and terrifying, a weight I could hardly shoulder. "No, I can't do this!" I yelled, feeling like I was spiraling out of control. But the darkness surged forward again. I was all out of options. Clenching the pendant, I turned towards the figure and the mass of shadows. "This ends now!" The pendant's light swelled, and with all my strength I hurled it forward, releasing all the memories and fears it housed. As it flew, the piercing glow illuminated every corner of the cave, the shadows quivering in its wake. The images exploded. My family standing strong on the edge of the well, faces set with resolve. They were refusing to succumb to the darkness. The shadows recoiled as the light enveloped the room. They twisted and contorted, their forms splitting apart into wisps, shrieking as they were consumed by the brightness. The creature shrank back, retreating into the depths of the cave as if hemmed in by the light. As the last remnants of darkness dissolved, the well ceased its ominous thumping. The air cleared, shifting into a softer, brighter atmosphere, wrapping around me like a warm blanket. Gradually, the blinding light dimmed, revealing the woman standing before me, no longer looming but softened, her features now gentle. "You've faced the truth, Jamie." Her voice sang with newfound clarity. "In doing so, you have broken the cycle." "What does that mean?" I breathed, heart racing and eyes wide. The cave felt less intimidating now, almost like a sanctuary. "It means you have chosen to let go of the past, to rise above and heal. The darkness will no longer haunt your family." But as relief washed over me, I couldn't shake the deep-rooted questions swirling in my mind. Had I really faced the truth, or had it merely transformed into a different mystery? Would I truly escape this place, or would its echo linger in my thoughts forever? Before I could voice my concerns, a rumble spread through the cave, and everything shimmered. The shadows receded, the creature's growl fading into silence. The woman glanced toward the cave entrance where a light began to break through. "Go, Jamie. You've earned your freedom." With one last look at the stones, I felt a strange blend of weight lifted and burden retained, a final chapter that offered no clear resolution. I moved towards the light, clutching the pendant as I stepped out of the cave and into the night, leaving behind the echoes of a history I may never fully understand. The woods felt different, the laughter no longer a taunt, but a whisper of something beyond comprehension. The questions remained, whispered on the wind as I ventured into the unknown. I didn't look back. The memories were a part of me now, whether I liked it or not. I stepped forward into the moonlit forest, uncertainty and possibility intertwined in every breath I took.